Alright guys, so I'm going to walk through the Marshal DSL1 for Motorhead fans. This was a request from Rich, so I finally got around to doing it. So you're going to see a little bit of choppiness on the the video. That's the only way I can do the audio here if I'm going to stream it, okay? So hopefully what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the camera to the amp. So DSL1 for Marshall is a very versatile amp. And then, like I said, with the Super Overdrive, Boss Super Overdrive, it really gets you every sound. You know, from Slayer to Metallica to, from thrash to basically rock to blues to everything. So it's that typical 80s kind of Marshall sound. It's a very kind of solid sound, right? So for Motorhead, this is what Fast Eddie Clarke used, was basically JCM 800. But JCM 800 is going to cost you like $3,000. So the next best thing is the DSL1. Now, they did make a DSL1 50th anniversary JCM 800 version. Alright, so what we're going to do is basically just walk through the DSL1 because, JCM 800 is too expensive unless you have like $3,000. And like I said, they don't make a compact version. If you don't have a band, there's really no reason for you to buy a JCM 800, like a 100-watt JCM 800, which is just kind of, stupid to buy. For like practical purposes, you really don't need a JCM 800, all right? Like these came from nowhere, but they couldn't beat the shield. Flew across the bad vibes, smashing in the fields. When I made a suggestion, I thought it should explode. Kept us on a handful, rocked us on the run. See, tons of sustain. Alright, a little bit of keep us on the road there. I jumbled up the words, sorry, and I think I hit a wrong chord here and there. So that song is basically just this. E, I'm tuned to half step. G, and then it's just A, G, B. Right? But like I said, I'm tuned to half step. Alright guys, so I'm just going to do a walkthrough real quick. So let me see what I can do here. I'm just going to turn this around like this. Alright, hopefully you can see this. So what I've done here is just connected you can see this right here, super distortion pedal, and you can see my settings right there. Now, basically here's this is a 2-channel amp, and here's the power switch. This is the reverb. Now this is a digital reverb, okay? Digital reverb means that it's not analog, so that's the only downside of this. Even though it's a tube amp, it's an analog reverb. So with the analog reverb, it's going to sound more sweeter. So digital reverb, it's just going to have, it's basically reverb that's basically, from the digital circuit, not analog circuit. Because in analog circuit, they have like the tanks there and stuff for like, like surf music and things like that. So that's really the only thing that may not be desirable in this, is that, right there is the reverb. So if you add too much of it, it's going to sound, different, obviously. So that's the reverb. So here's the bass, middle, and treble. So the bass, middle, and treble, I just keep it like this. So you can basically, do whatever sound you want. But I just keep the bass and the treble around 3 o'clock, and then I scoop out the mids, but you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want, okay? Scooping out the mids just means turning it down. So when I say that, I don't mean turn it down all the way. I mean like keep it at, like right around there, like 9 o'clock, okay? Okay, so then we have this knob here, which is a tone shift. So the tone shift does this weird thing where, so this is the tone shift off. if you like that sound, you can have it. If you push it in, it's going to give you a more compact sound. So I had it pushed in. So you can push it out if you want. So that's kind of, it's going to give you kind of a, more raw sound, okay? I guess that sounds cool too. So anyway, I'll push it in for now. And then what you have here is the volume. So basically this is the deal here. This is a 1 watt amp, but this is so loud that you can actually play with the drummer with this. Somebody did a YouTube video where they tried to play this with drummer, and then they couldn't even turn it up to 8 or 9 because that's how loud it was. So, but although you don't want to play this amp with the drummer because there's not enough kind of the headroom. So, but it is possible to do if this is all you had. So 1 watt is really loud. So there's a switch back there that basically puts it into 0.1 watt mode. So where I'm getting at is that 0.1 watt mode at like basically 1 is too loud for this room. So anything, there's no way that I could go like even like this. That would be like way too loud. So that's the 0.1 watt mode. So you can imagine what would be the 1 watt mode. So again, 0.1 watt mode, volume 1 is too much for this room. The volume 2 would be too much for this room. Volume 1 is just about right. Right. So leave it right there. Right? And it sounds pretty good. So I've actually pressed the tone shift knob in. So going back to the tone shift knob for a second. So what this is going to do is it's going to give you kind of a different EQ. So that's what it does. Right? Versus this. I think that's better for like when we're practicing here. I don't know. It's just a preference. You could do both, I guess. So basically, you can't go past 1 or 2 here in the 0.1 watt mode. Repeating that again, because that's how ridiculous this is. 1 watt mode, there's no way you're going to go up to 2, right? Unless you like playing really loud and your neighbors are probably going to complain, right? But I'm going through basically a 112 Celestion 6080 speaker, 7080 speaker. So that's just a 112 cabinet. Now, I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then this is basically the gain, okay? So I set the gain at about 7. And then this is my setting for the pedal here. So the overdrive pedal. And again, you have another EQ right here in the middle on this, right? That'll give you a different tone. So you just got to play around with it until you get the right kind of sound. So here, like I've set this the level and then drive to this. And this adds like a soft kind of overdrive to it. So very useful for basically, this setup is basically useful for everything from thrash to blues. Everything in the middle. Metallica, Slayer. I use this for Slayer, right? And then everything. Okay, so that's the setting right there. I have a delay in which I can't see what I'm doing here. It's like a 5 or 6, 7 delay. So the first time I did it, I know I didn't show it well. So that's the second time I'm showing you the exact settings. Okay, so you have a little bit of mostly amp gain here, 7, and then you're supplementing this with this. Okay, all right. So then this is the 2 channel. So if I go here, it's going to be that. That's going to be really loud. That's going to be louder because there's nothing, and then the only time you would use that is that, if you're going to drive it all with the pedal, okay? Which this pedal can't do. This is not going to be enough distortion. So you have to mix it with amp distortion for any kind of metal, unless you have a super duper pedal that can do it all by itself. and it all comes with a foot switch that you can select from the clean channel versus this. The problem with this is that the only way you're going to get the amp to break up is, you see how loud it is already, right? So you have to turn this like 6 or 7 to get that natural distortion, and then plus this thing, right? So there's no way you can ever turn it up to that loud here in this room, because this is that amp where it's a practice amp for the home, but then it's not really loud enough to be played over a drummer. You can push it, you can try it. So I don't know what will be the point of turning this to 7. So I almost never use it, but it comes with the foot switch, okay? And then let me see if I can show you the back of it. If I can spin this around, I'm not sure if I'm going to. So the back of it's basically just, it's got that switch for the 1 watt and 0.1 watt mode. And you press it in for the 0.1 watt mode. I can't really switch it around. I can't really turn it around. And then it just has the effects loop. So if you want to connect an effect out of it, you can do that. So the effects loop is like, if you don't want to go here, you can go from back there. And that's a different kind of sound, to where you're adding the effect post amp. Sometimes it doesn't really work, okay? So that's pretty much it. And then I'm connecting it through a 112/7080 speaker, like I said. That should be enough for the home. Now what you can do is you can buy a 212 Marshall cabinet. The cabinet itself will cost you more than this amp, I think. It's like $500. So if you want that sound, you may want to get like a off-brand 212 with the same kind of speakers. But speakers are made, not all speakers are made alike. So it's not just the speaker, but it's the construction that gives you the sound. So something that you can actually buy a 212 for, like, I think around $250 from like an off-brand, but it's not going to sound as good as the Marshall, even though the speakers are exactly the same. Like I said, speaker cabinet construction is its own thing, okay? To where, so that's pretty much it for this sound. Like I said, this is probably one of the best investments I made, for like $450 or something like that, and it is going to serve you basically forever. If you're doing anything technical, right, this is sort of the best sort of amp. 5-day marathon, we're moving like a parallelogram. Don't move, a shelter, don't kill the lights. If I can't be what was right, I should be tired, and all I am is wired. Can't help this grin for an hour. Motorhead, you just come in Motorhead. Remember me, I'm Motorhead. Alright. Alright guys, let me know if you have any other questions. Like I said, probably the best investment, Marshall's not paying me to do this, but a wide variety of sounds, anything technical, right, anything technical, this is it, man. This is going to give you that sound. I hate to say the 80s, because this is so associated with the 80s. Motorhead, basically everybody uses JCM 800, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, everybody basically uses a JCM 800. Green Day uses a 90s band, right? They use the JCM 800. So with the DSL1, this is the most affordable Marshall amp, I think, because everything else is basically out of reach unless you want to, And that's the thing is that, I want to just talk about the 1 watt philosophy, is that this is really all you need unless you have a full functioning band. So there's really no need to buy a 50 watt or 100 watt Marshall, and I want to just talk about, I guess in the 50th anniversary, 10 years ago, they actually had a 1 watt JCM and it 800, and it basically sold out, I think, almost instantly. And nobody's going to want to get rid of it. I think I found like one person who wanted to get rid of it on like Reverb, and then it like sold out immediately, and he wanted to use it. It was like $800 used. So I looked at the front panel. It doesn't have as many controls as this, but still you get the JCM 800 sound, which is going to be more uh, a signature sound. I'll talk about that some other time. I think I kind of figured out how to get like a JCM 800 sound out of a DSL, and then I'll talk about that some other time. For home recording, this is great. This is absolutely great. Like I said, this is basically, for anybody that doesn't have a band, this is it. That's basically 99% of us. So anyway, guys, let me know if you have any questions. I'll answer it. Again, at the risk of repeating myself, very versatile, from all the way from blues to basically thrash metal, and probably even the death metal guys use, JCM 800, right? This is sort of the quintessential sound amp if you want to do technical stuff.